This meeting is being held remotely as an alternative means of public access pursuant to the Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Laws 30A, Section 20, subsection F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. So I assume none of you guys are recording this thing, right? All right, okay. So we are now legal, and we'll start to roll through.
Dave, this is being recorded.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is. I hit the button.
So,
And we will also, Harbor Media has graciously said that they will post it for us someplace. And
Oh.
so,
It will air on the government channel.
the government channel.
that's cool.
All right.
So what, Dave,
Yeah.
on the agenda, it didn't have the complete disclosure that you just read. Is there a way that you could send that to me for the minutes?
Oh, yeah. I could, yeah. They actually, I tried to use the old ones. It's, no, you can't use that. So, yeah, the right one is the one that references Acts of 2021, but I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
Right.
it looks like I got the first paragraph, but not the second.
Okay, I'll send it to you. All right, roll call. We know everybody. We have Mike, we have me, we have Michelle, we have Jeff Cutler in his last appearance with us, John Rice and Chris. And okay, the meeting minutes. Last time we met was June 22nd on a Tuesday. As once again, I will say that the notes are just absolutely primo.
Thank you.
They are actually worth reading prior to the meeting. I mean, I know that we go through it, but because it does refresh in your mind stuff that we're working on. So, so do I hear a motion to? I've read through them. I, as usual, love them. Motion to.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye, yes. Thank you very much. Okay, we have gotten a new member. Unfortunately, he had to be away, and so he probably is logistically challenged to phone in and get in remotely. So we will introduce him at the next meeting. Status of CAC requests. I don't think there's anything been added in there. Who would like to do the status of the HD channel? Oh, before you start that, I do owe you a letter to the editor. I will write that. I got a draft of that, but I will do that. And I got some excellent comments from Jeff, so I'll do that. But yeah, status of the HD rollout.
Yes, so our HD switch was flipped, and it was literally a switch on Comcast end. We were prepared to film the actual switching so that we could have fun with the community, but it was all on the Comcast end. So that went very well. We also updated some cabling infrastructure in our studio so that we could see the HD channel. Everyone can see it as soon as they walk into the lobby. Adam added some cabling for that. And obviously it can be monitored at Town Hall too. So far, so good for about a week. And then all the Comcast channels went down. Comcast was aware of it. What happened was Comcast updated some equipment in their entire network, and it bumped off all PEG channels.
Not just us, it's the whole.
Not just us, as far as we know throughout Massachusetts, because when we called, they had a lot of service tickets. So by the end of the day, that was up and running. And so HD looks great. And we are doing a marketing campaign. I went on WATD just before the HD switch was made at the end of August. We have a commitment from the Anchor. They've assigned a writer, so there'll be a story in the Anchor. I feel they're very well read. Yep. And all of our marketing promotional items have been designed, and we're finalizing all the orders on that. Yes.
Question from Jeff.
Was the WATV interview videoed as well?
No, it wasn't. They don't do that. I suggested that.
Because then you could run it on the station.
I know. It would have been great. It actually was a co-host, so it was 6 to 10. And what he did was he allowed during every hour a segment, or I got to explain who Harbor Media is, what we do. And it was really funny because the executive director from, I believe it was, which town was he from? A nearby town. Not one of our South Shore towns, but slightly inland. Texted the host and said, Michelle knows what she's talking about, because we talked about how community media matters more than ever, what happened during the pandemic, all those kinds of things, and then the pending state legislation to capture streaming. And so that was kind of neat that another executive director was listening.
Wow.
Have you guys produced any broadcast promos promoting the new channel? And have you looked at doing new looks and things of that nature to kind of announce it?
Yes, we are. And we're pushing all that off to the community for during our annual meeting, October 12th.
I mean, what you mean to premiere it, you mean?
Yes, to run on the channels.
Oh, I see.
But we have other items. We want folks to have things around their home and around their community to reinforce it. So our messaging is Hingham in HD. And I could even pull up some stuff off my computer if you wanted to see, but it's Hingham in HD. See your community in high definition. Not everybody knows what HD is, but Hingham in HD is in the bolder letters, and then it's see your community in high definition. And it's the Comcast channel, the Verizon channel, and then our URL. And that's for lawn signs. We have car magnets. So when we are in the community filming, when members and volunteers are in the community filming, they can all use these car magnets. So it's, shooting in progress for Harbor Media, and it reinforces HD and the 2 channel numbers. So we have a number of those items that have been designed.
You can share if you want. I mean, I'm allowing everyone to share. Does anybody want visuals, or you're okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you can share.
Okay, hold on 1 second and I'll pull up some of the designs.
Are you going to be putting some of these things on like Hingham pinboard and?
Yes, the Hingham pin board. And then, believe it or not, I think John brought this up. We've identified a number of good old fashioned flyer boards.
Flyer boards.
Yeah, there's a lot like in town. There's the one down by the Historic Society. There's the Starbucks. Put them in the windows. I'm sure people will put them in windows.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at this. Huh?
Yeah, we have business stickers because we identified that as an opportunity too. So it's simple, it's clean lettering. We didn't want anything too confusing, but we have things with a gray background and with a white, because in some things white pops more.
Yeah.
But this is exactly what we want people to know us for. No more, no less. See your community in high definition, which reinforces what HD is, in case folks don't understand that. Why wouldn't we have HD? And we're branding the 2 channel numbers and our URL.
Has everybody on the committee looked at their prospective HD channel if they have cable? Yes.
Yes.
I think it looks great. John likes it. Right,
Yeah,
John?
we also have white background too, because like I said, certain things pop more in white.
Yeah.
Very clean, very simple, and then the online promos too.
Excellent. And unfortunately, it still just says local channel, right? In the guide. I'm pretty sure it does.
Which guide is that? Because we changed it on our website.
No, the Comcast.
On the Comcast guide.
Yeah, it's just
Oh,
On
Comcast
cable TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
In other words, it doesn't say, like on one of the channels, it says educational channel, but on these, they don't say anything, right? It's just a
Right.
channel assignment.
and that's not their thing. It's a Comcast thing.
And who are you adjacent to on those channels? What kinds of other networks are you, where do they put you? Are you next to affiliates, or, Bravo, or what's surrounding?
I didn't spend too much time, but one thing was a nature channel. I can't remember if it was up or down from us.
Okay. And have you considered doing a buy on cable, local cable itself, in terms of doing your own promo spot? Because, you know, people who want to see you on the channel, I mean, that's going to be the most direct kind of medium to do that. I don't know whether Comcast and or Verizon's Comcast Spotlight, I'm not sure what Verizon's ad thing is. Maybe they would have some remnant time and things like that that they would give you, or almost like as a PSA in a way.
Yeah, so far I haven't gotten anything that says they'll give it to us, but I got pricing for ads, because small ads that are very direct to that area, because they're already watching TV. So why not push them over to that channel?
You know, I would ask Mass Access, whoever's a person there, about that and get an opinion to see if any other systems have been able to achieve that, where they can get it as a, maybe designated as a public service, even if it's a 15. You know, it doesn't have to be a lot. They probably have remnant time. I can't imagine they're selling all their time out.
That's a good point. We have a Mass Access listserv. I could put it right out there.
Yeah. There's got to be time on there. There's got to be, I would think. Okay. Anything else on HD? Questions on HD?
One quick question. What number is it for Comcast? 1040,
1072.
1072. Hold
The
on.
other thing is, Jeff, and I think maybe you and I had talked about this before, now that that's settled, we really would like to ask the town to allow us to have at least one TV monitor in the library,
Oh, good point.
in the lobby of Town Hall, so that as people come and go with signage underneath Harbor Media, and then we list the two channels. That way they're seeing our best of channel, which is a combined channel. So if they're walking in the morning, they see a certain kind of program, afternoon, etc. When they go back to in-person meetings, they'll see actual government meetings.
Have you talked to anybody up there about that?
I haven't yet. I wanted to get HD completely done. And then I asked Adam to look into what is the best feed for that, Comcast or Verizon, because you don't have to have both. You just need one outlet. And then underneath it would say, you know, Hingham in HD, Harbor Media, Comcast 1072, and then Verizon 2131.
Do you want me to, I mean, I'm going to be talking to them a lot more now. The review. Want me to do, you know, I don't want to step on anybody's, you know, but I'll put my oar into that. We, you know, now that we got this thing, I really, you know, it would be nice if we had it in the town hall.
Yes.
I would just like to make one comment that I kind of forgotten to tell you, Dave. A nice call from Mike Gala, our
good
counsel over at Comcast, who was checking in.
Yep.
Because I've been kind of a main contact for him, and he was just checking in to see if everything was going well and if we gotten it and is everything okay. And
that's nice.
If you need anything, to call him. So I think hats off to Mike to do a follow-up on that.
Yeah. Because usually we get radio silence, so that's good. This is goodness. This is goodness. Excellent. Yeah. I'll put on the meeting minutes that I have to do. I'll follow up too with the town to kind of get because I think that makes a lot of sense. Have that playing in the lobby, you know.
Yeah, we want to be on his good side because we've got to negotiate in a few years.
Well, that too.
Having a monitor in Town Hall would be excellent visibility of spreading the word about community.
Especially in HD. So
yeah, exactly. Now it really makes sense. And the other thing, if we can piggyback on HD, if I can give you a closed captioning update, because that has not gone very smoothly.
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you may recall we went with a vendor that provides closed captioning to videos. There are 4 or 5 that integrate and are official vendors for Tightrope, which is our television software. And there's a $50,000 minimum to get in. I mean, things change every day. They just added another vendor in July, but we went with an outside vendor. They're called Verbit. And it's very easy interface. You upload your video. They provide open or closed captioning. We choose closed captioning. We get the file back. We upload it to Tightrope. It has worked very well for video on demand. It has not shown up on the channels.
Is this nothing?
We've got everybody on the phone at the same time. Turns out there's one other system in Massachusetts, only one other system that is full force trying to add closed captioning right now, because community television is exempt from providing closed captioning. We don't have to comply with the ADA, but we want to offer closed captioning. We get requests from it. We can do like a workaround. I think I explained to everyone for town meetings, we do this whole workaround with YouTube, adding the captions, downloading it, doing a screen recording, the whole thing. It hurts the quality and it takes hours. So this is a great solution. So why isn't it showing up on the channel? So we did find out from the vendor that's working with, I think it was Chelsea, Community Television, who bought a different system, and it's not showing up on their channels. We have to add decimators, which is a piece of equipment to reconvert it back to SD to read the closed captioning sidecar file before it can show up on our channels in HD.
But it still comes back to HD though, right? I mean, it goes to SD and then goes back.
It'll still be in HD, but you literally have to add a step, which is another good reason. I'm glad we don't have all those modulators and we don't have an analog system anymore. We went digital last spring. But so we need 4 for Hingham. We bought 1 because we want to make sure 1 works.
Right. Yeah.
On 1 channel.
Yeah.
So I talked to Adam before earlier today just to make sure, and we think it's going to work. It looks like it's going to work.
And when you say 1 channel, would that be the HD channel that would be on both Verizon and Comcast?
Yeah.
Yes, but in that case, because we have a lot of people who watch the government channel exclusively, even though we feature the latest government meetings every single weeknight at 9 o'clock as on the Best Of channel, we will have closed captioning for education and government as well as the main channel.
Right. But you have to prioritize first to see that if it's working and things.
Exactly.
And so I would say just do the HD channels
buy
first.
multiple pieces of equipment and have it not work, even though they are returnable. It's called a
Yeah.
decimator.
Yeah.
And so that's where we stand with that.
No, that's depressing. You gotta go to SD and come back up again.
Yeah, it was really strange. We had no idea, but we did take, misery loves company. So we did take some comfort that there was another community television station in the state of Massachusetts. So then it got competitive, and I told Adam, hurry up and do it before they do, so we can say we were first.
Oh, okay. Now, so we're gonna do some kind of a rollout for a caption, make it a big deal and all.
Yes, that's the other thing, frankly, is I really would like to communicate to the community that we have closed captioning and HD.
Right.
So in my opinion, I think that a robust sort of strategy that would be your on-air sort of promotion of what you're doing, that you just use your own air is the cheapest thing to use to make good, compelling promo spots that promote HD, promote the closed captioning.
Absolutely.
And to a certain degree, I think promoting the shows themselves that are coming up and the threads that you have coming up. And you see that being done on network television, cable television. It's a way of getting tune in. It's a way of people making it a destination, ways in which you can, really promote. You have the airtime to do that. You should use your own airtime, I think, in the best way you can.
Well, we are planning to use our airtime to communicate that. I'm just a half step from releasing all of that because I really honestly want to say, while we have your attention, not only do we have HD, we have closed captioning. These are 2 really huge quality increases. It's extremely innovative for community television to have HD and to have closed captioning. So I want to be able to communicate that in one message, in one set of promos. And to your point, John, we know that our government meetings are most watched on our channels. That's where the promos should be, because you have people watching during those timeframes.
I was also going to mention why I keep holding up the phone. The channel guide on Comcast. And Comcast does not list 1072. Gives 1070, 1090, and 1091. But 1072 is not in their channel lineup yet on the mobile app. I don't know if it is on the box itself.
It is on the box. Yeah,
It is on the box because
we've seen it. It looks great.
Okay.
And
no, I know you can tune to it. It doesn't give you in the channel lineup.
Yeah, I only tuned to it on the box. Yeah, the set.
There might be a lag, because they just turned it on in terms of, I would think that you have to give them a month or 2 to
I just brought it up
they might only do the updates every 4 months or something for all we know.
I just brought it up to see the adjacent channels, and the only ones are ours. So it's 1070 to 1090 are the 2 other channels above and below that. I don't know what 1071 or 1073 are.
that's interesting.
And what are you looking at? Is that like if you wanted to tune it in on your mobile, like
Yeah,
on your
this is my
Xfinity app?
Xfinity app, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well,
John-
again, things like this, if you feel like we need to do it, we could, I could bring this up to Mike Gala. I mean, this is the kind of thing where, oh, by the way, I think they forgot about this. Is there any way we can do this?
John, do you mind asking him? Otherwise I will, because I think we should be listed on the mobile app.
Yeah, Jeff,
Yeah.
if you could if you could send that to me in terms of
Yeah.
just like where you saw it, where it is, why it's important, that kind of thing.
Sure, I'll do that. I'm gonna run to see the box in the other room and see
Okay.
what it lists for us.
Okay. John picks up the action item. Get that in the minutes.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? Oh, he just leaves it because this is his action item is up next. So what Jeff has, we talked about video production, end-to-end presentation. He put together some storyboards. He also has a short video that talks about the storyboards, and he and Adam have been working on this. So when Jeff gets back, he'll run his little video. It's like 3 minutes, and we'll talk about that. I think if we expand it and Adam produces it and gets it on the air, it'd be a nice thing for us to have as we want to get more. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right, Michelle? So something we can say, geez, I really would like to get involved in local access. What do I got to do? How do I start?
How much, just while we're waiting for him, Michelle, could you talk a little bit about how much programming you're doing is still kind of hybrid virtual stuff, where you're having to record Zoom meetings, and is some of it hybrid where you're doing a live shot plus a feed from Zoom or just a Zoom? Can you give me an idea how you guys are navigating this, the rules that change in the pandemic and that kind of thing at this point?
Sure. So just to reinforce, our studio's been open the entire time. We've never closed the studio. We have asked for people to make appointments instead of drop-ins. So we had that mostly during the pandemic, and then we were completely open. And then with the recent surge in cases last month, we're back to appointments, but we're there the whole day. In terms of Zoom remote programming, Hingham boards and committees were in person for a very brief time, and then they went back to Zoom. So we do record those via Zoom, and they will remain that way until they tell us otherwise. For community members, we have one member of the community, Scott Stevenson, who does an interview show. He is still doing them via Zoom. He's most comfortable doing that. And we have a member of the community, Carol Meyer, who does a weekly update on something newsworthy in the community. And she was recording her voiceover in the studio and decided to do that from home. So she's recording that. Everything else for us is in person. We just conducted, believe it or not, our first gubernatorial candidate interview. That was in person. We just shot a really great piece. It was approved today on 100 Years with South Shore Country Club. That was all in person. So all of our filming is still in person and at safe levels in the studio and in the field.
Mhm.
But school committee meetings and government meetings are generally like a Zoom meeting for the most
They are
part.
Zoom, period.
Yeah, and do you feel like, and do they have lots of roll-in material that they do? And technically, how is that a challenge? If, say, somebody wanted to play a video back at one of the meetings or slideshows and things like that, how is the quality of that once you get through Zoom?
Well, what we typically do with presentations and any kind of add-on material, short video, those kinds of things, we edit them in the next morning. So
Okay, so that it's not live.
so
Really.
it's more so it's native for a better viewing.
Mhm, okay.
It would look better too, I assume. But yeah.
Yeah. Now, there are ways now, though, with Zoom that you can roll in video. There are a couple of workarounds that people have figured out that you can play back video during a live thing where it doesn't jump, how so much of it does that kind of jump. My son has figured that out for some of the schools that the university that he works for and does a lot of streaming events. So there is some, both for PC and for Macs.
Well, they just rolled, in the latest Zoom release I've got, they rolled out managed apps. You know about that? Zoom itself has apps that you can link in but I think that only applies to people who run Zoom meeting, like a corporation or whatever, but you can actually, you can create your own apps in the Zoom infrastructure to do your thing.
Right.
So, whatever. I don't think we're gonna have anything to do with that, but
Yeah.
So I went and looked at the television.
yes, and what's it
And
say?
I plugged in channel 1072.
7.2. Yeah.
Is that right? 1072.
Yeah.
It brought up a Peacock show and a pay-per-view something.
Okay.
And we have Xfinity. 1070 did bring up local. 1090 brought up local. And the other one brought up local. 1072 just brought up something. Don't know what it is.
All right. All
To
right.
check, because the other thing that happened upon installation or the flip of the switch for HD, they gave us 3 channels. We thought we were only getting 1. So we said, hey, do we have 3 HD channels? And they said, no, that's a mistake. You need to stick with 1072. I just left the office and watched 1072.
Okay.
So
I will, after this, go out and click around.
Okay.
yeah, I'll text Adam too.
I mean, the time that, you told me about it, I went on and looked at it. I saw it at 1072. It was,
Looked great to me. Yeah. I said, geez, I can actually
Jeff,
see
you're
this.
on Comcast 1072?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll check that out. Okay, Jeff, you're up. You could share. So you want to run the video? Or you want to talk about it first?
Yeah, we can talk about it first.
Go ahead.
Let me, I gotta find my document, which I think I hid behind everything. 1 second. Oh, okay. What I wanted to do was just give you guys a quick video to watch, and it will cover, can I share this, or do you want to
Yeah,
share
you
it?
can share. No, you could. The only restriction is only one can share it. That's the way I have it set up.
Okay, let me, okay, I'm on mute. There we go. Oh, really?
But
I'm waiting for it to share. It's not, oh,
You have to select it once you.
yeah. But my system won't allow me to share the PDF. Hang on.
well, I just want the MOV. I mean,
Oh, I think I can share that.
yeah,
Hang on.
just run that.
Yeah, let me find that and play it.
Especially since we're recording this thing.
Right, exactly. Well, I didn't realize I was playing it. I thought you'd be playing it.
No, it's just easier. You got it. Yeah.
All right, let me bring that up. We'll go full screen. Let me. There. I gotta allow Zoom to share this. Hold on. Oh my God.
Hey, Michelle did it.
I know. Okay, it should work now.
All right, I'm waiting. We're all,
I'm waiting too.
yeah. Yeah, there you go. Something's happening.
Should be playing.
Well, it has shared screen, has started screen sharing. Okay. Is it playing on your end?
No, not yet.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah, there you go. Hit it. Uh-oh. Yeah, you have to put the sound on.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Here comes the sound.
No, not in my end.
Ah,
Hmm.
you don't have any audio?
No.
Ah. Well, that's no good.
Okay, Michelle, what does he have to do for audio? You're on mute.
Well, it depends on his system. So
I
don't
just tried share sound. Hold on. Here we go. Maybe.
You know,
There you go.
making a show or a video or anything these days is difficult if you don't have the resources and the knowledge to pull it off. All right, we got everything. I gotta get my hat going. Put on my mask for safety.
Hmm.
And then we sit back. Maybe the sound will be better in a minute. And 3, 2, 1, action. Hi, my name is Jeff Cutler, and I don't work at Harbor Media.
Hi, my name is Jeff Cutler, and in the next 3 minutes, I'm going to explain the 10 storyboards I think we should follow when creating instructions on how to make a program with Harbor Media.
In HD.
3, 2, 1, action. And if that's any indication, you can see how hard it is to put a show together if you don't have a group of people behind you. Today, what I'm going to do is list out for you fairly quickly. This is only going to be a couple minutes. What we're going to have on a storyboard for putting together a video production that teaches residents in Hingham how they can come up with an idea and get it live on TV and get it live on our new HD TV. So the steps for this, very informal. First frame would be a coffee shop with 2 people talking about a project. Someone mentions, hey, wouldn't it be great to have a podcast about Hingham sports, but I want it to be a video podcast. So how do I go about that? And that first storyboard would be someone, it can be anyone with any idea, talking to someone else about, hey, I want to create a show. The board 2 would be the lobby of Harbor Media or Harbor Media's website, or just a picture of a phone with Harbor Media's information on it. Number 3, just a chauffeur or a guide or a cruise director or a Sherpa, someone who is just an image that points you in the right direction. Then we show Harbor Media again, the front and the computers, the editing bays, the front desk. We go to the master control room, we show all the stuff in there. We do the whiteboards, we show story ideas. Board 7 would be the studio or studios, the kitchen and the main studio itself. Just a view of that. So have a picture of a cooking show, have a picture of a talk show, have some puppets. Next would be board 8. There are only 10 boards. Board 8 is the script. Just show some typewriters, show people working, show a bratted up script. These are just still images for the storyboard. Number 9, a table read, as I mentioned earlier. Back to the conference room, everyone has a script in hand, just a picture of people around the table reading. Have everyone in there and have someone doing action and 3, 2, 1 and setting up the show. So you have 10 slides. It would pretty much fill out what that video would be, and we can even show how this video is made for residents so they can say, oh yeah, I want to storyboard my idea and I want to come to Harbor Media to do it. Thanks for watching. My name is Jeff Cutler. This is for Harbor Media and the Cable Advisory Committee.
So there you go.
There you go. You can stop sharing.
There, how's that?
Thank you, Jeff.
You're
Yeah.
quite welcome.
Right, and where I think that we could, obviously it's an opportunity to actually produce something, but while we're producing it, it would be good to, it's like, well, I guess we're saying show within a show. This is how we produce what you're looking at right now, because hopefully if we get more people, understanding, local access, and they want to get content on there, this is a good, just sort of, get their feet wet kind of thing. I mean, that's kind of the deal.
Yeah, I think so.
well done.
Thanks. And I have a PDF that I sent in to Dave that he's going to attach to the minutes that actually lists out each part and how the actors can do it, and maybe the voiceover and the point of view. John and I had talked about it briefly before, so that's all in that document.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is for Michelle, if we could just somehow move this through the process, get it into the production cycle, and then we can, kind of, it'll get us a little more involved in, well, actually, how do we get this stuff done? It's not just, let's put an iPhone up and, it's more than that. It's a lot more than that. I think it'd be valuable for the committee and also for the town. So, if we can put in the cycle. So how's it, actually, that's a good question. How's the scheduling work? It says, okay, this guy, let's say he's the producer and he wants to put this thing on. How does he get on the schedule, and then like on a weekly basis, they say, well, how's that going? That kind of thing. Is that how it works?
So for once something is produced, the scheduling is very easy, and we have blogs.
Oh, yeah. No, but I mean, we're saying we're actually going to
Join member content.
Yeah. We're going to use. I assume that a lot of this is going to be Harbor Media people. Like probably Collymore or whatever. So
Right.
How does that get into the pipeline? That kind of thing.
Well, for production, our production timeline, we usually have a meeting with someone, we vet their idea, we help expand it.
Right.
We coach them through writing a script.
Yeah.
We also have several Harbor Media how-to videos on the Learn section of our website.
Yep.
And actually, I found out from the Hingham Middle School teacher, she's been using those videos with her students too. And so once the script is final, then we assign a shoot date for filming.
Okay.
Usually filming is done in one day. It's seldom multiple locations kind of thing, but we have done those also. And then we've identified if it's going to be edited in-house with our team, or if the person producing also has an interest in editing.
Okay. Do you find that people come in and want to do it sort of from soup to nuts? Do they want to like shoot it as well and use your equipment? Have you been finding that they're not using your text, they're using their own?
We usually don't have people who want to do it soup to nuts. I would say that's rare. Even for our students who go through our programs, they do everything soup to nuts, and then they say, well, I just want to film, or I just want to edit. I want to be behind the camera, that kind of thing. I fielded a call, today's Wednesday, I fielded a call Wednesday from a gentleman in Hingham who is coming in tomorrow just for a studio tour, and then to map out. He has a show idea. He's already a shooter. He shoots for his own business, and he edits everything on Final Cut, and he wants to learn Premiere Pro, and which is exclusively what we use as part of the Adobe suite. And he wants to learn about social media because we teach intro to social media. So he's interested in those classes with us. He's going to take footage he's already shot. We're going to teach him how to use Premiere Pro and edit, and then leverage social media.
And who are your instructors that you use to do this now? Is it
there are staff?
Just all the different staff will help in that way?
Yes. In fact, I really would like to give a big shout out to our part-time receptionist, Barbara, longtime Hingham resident. And she works for us 10 to 2, works out very well. She's admin support. She really wanted to learn to edit. And so Christina has been teaching her how to edit our PSAs, and all of our PSAs have accompanying voiceover. So that's the next step for her. She'll be doing voiceover work as well. That's just kind of an internal note, but that just kind of tells you that our staff is perfectly trained and has the patience to help folks with editing. We also have a young woman, Annie, who is post-college, has her degree, but really is trying to grow her experience and her reel to work in the industry. And she comes in twice a week to do filming and editing. And then we have our longtime friend Cormac, who Allie Donnelly just featured in her last podcast, Cormac and his mom. And Cormac comes to our studio every week to research, script, film, and edit his own shows. In fact, he edited the Allie Donnelly podcast about him and about his mom. He did the audio edit and added a visual for it to air on our channel. So if you're familiar with Cormac's story, he aged out of Hingham Public Schools services. And Allie did a podcast about the need for services. So anyway, Cormac is one of our regular volunteers who has learned to edit as well.
That's great. Yeah.
A special needs kid, and that's
yeah.
That's good.
So Jeff, how much you want to do with this? So you're out of this. You're on mute.
I mean, no, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
As much as you need.
Okay.
I talked to Joe about it already. I've talked to Adam. Adam's just been so busy with logistics everywhere during this that we didn't really sit down other than like 2 or 3 phone calls to hash it out. And I said, look, I'll film the thing and this is my thought on it. And that other document is almost like a map for them. But if they want me to film parts of it or work with Joe on it, yeah, I'd be glad to.
Yeah, that would work well. We have, I'm not sure if you all know Mark Brody. He is a board member and he also
He's great.
is a professor at Emerson.
Yeah.
He, once he found out that they were going to have summer classes, he basically has been crewing for us since May. And then his semester just kicked in. He's also working on a documentary with a member of our staff, Christina. But, if you want, we'll pick you up for crew. He crewed everything from school events, public events, did some editing for us just wherever we needed him.
Great.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah. So I think this is a good thing that, and it'll be all in HD. So, we can, move that through the process. That'd be great. Okay. Anything else for Jeff? All right. Verizon license renewal. I talked with our council. We're going to kick off the Verizon license renewal stuff with Mr. Solomon at our next meeting. I think he wanted the end of October. So we'll do the whole thing on that and what we have to do and get some words of wisdom from Bill on exactly where Verizon is with their efforts in cable. So we'll do that then.
I would say, though, Dave, I
Yeah.
would really, sometimes it's been, with Bill sort of waxing on for an hour.
Yeah.
It
He's
gets
going to give you stuff.
It gets painful and it's not really the efficient way to use our time.
Yep.
So I really do want to ask that he present us with some kind of, one pager or something about what he's covering. And those should go to the heart of the matter. What is Verizon, because he's got a beat on what Verizon is doing right now in terms of negotiating new deals. He could point out very, very succinctly, are they willing to do the same kind of deal they did before? Are they walking away? Are they, we just need a more succinct update as opposed to having, one of the circuitous sort of around and around.
Yeah, I know.
Right. And I know it's difficult, but he can't show up like with one of those documents when he's late for the meeting with us.
No.
What happened last time?
We actually talked about that. It says, Bill, I really need this stuff way before you show up so we can,
Right.
just do and not just, get it. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Okay.
Yeah. How to media review status. The review by Mr. Kelly has happened. He has put together a report. He's submitted the report to Tom Mayo. Tom Mayo is working with Bob on some additional changes. And the plan is, I met with Tom and John Coughlin, who's our legal counsel, because the agreement that will come out of this will conform to how all the contracts the town does with everybody. So it'll be in that format, as well as obviously the changes that we want to put into it. So the next steps are, they wanted some additional information and changes from Bob. Then what Tom will do, he'll coordinate getting that report that's final as far as they're concerned to the select board and to us. We will review it, and then I'm not really sure if it has to be presented in any we have to have any kind of formal thing sign off from the select board, but us, and then we deliver it to Laura and the board, and then the three of us get together and hammer out the what the agreement will be, which is,
Well,
go ahead.
But Dave, does it seem like, is it my understanding that they're going to present us with the plan? Tom's going through it because he wants to scrub it or whatever,
Yeah.
and get more information or whatever he's doing.
Yep.
And then they'll show it to the advisory committee, which is us. And I
Right,
would think that, do we need to go into executive session to do that? Because it might not be appropriate for the
Oh, yeah,
Harvard
yeah,
Media
yeah.
representative to be part of that. So
before.
that we can have our opinion in an unfettered way.
Correct. So the first phase is us and the select board. We get together, says, okay, this is what the review report is as from Bob Kelly. We ship it over to Harbor Media. They can munge on it in the board, and then the three of us get together and we hammer out the agreement. That's how it's gonna work.
And then our next step after that, after we review that and see what it is, then we will set a timetable for the renewal agreement.
Yes, that's correct. That's
And
correct.
the negotiation. We have till what, April? That we should get
Whatever,
that
6 months from when it was August, yeah, whatever.
done. Yeah, I mean, it could be sooner, but
Right,
at the latest April, right?
right.
No, it was 6 months from
August.
the end of August. So I think it's like the end of February or whatever the 6 months is.
Okay.
Also, parenthetically, and I'm not really taking it on. I tried to make sure that they didn't let us slip through the cracks. I gave to Coughlin all the information that I have on Harbor Media's desire to change their bylaws. I really don't want to get involved in that. That's a town thing. We reviewed it and we gave them our comments. So Coughlin has what Laura wants to do. Coughlin has, I think, John, you wrote the response to the bylaw changes.
Yeah.
Has John's memo, has the original bylaws thing, and I left it with Coughlin to decide how he wants to handle the bylaws. And the only reason why I'm kind of tangentially involved in the bylaws thing is that we said that some of the stuff that Harbor Media wanted to change should be in the agreement. So I just want my involvement with the bylaws is just to get the agreement stuff into our agreement. But I want the town to handle what they want to do with the bylaws. I mean, that's a different thing. Okay.
Well, as we discussed, David, it might be, the opinion might be that the bylaws get rolled into the agreement, in terms of how it's done.
I mean, some of the stuff, right.
That it becomes one and the same kind of,
Well, I mean, I don't, they can do whatever they want as far as the bylaws go with Harbor Media as a 401c. I don't want to get involved in that end of it, but I do want to get involved with whatever we think shouldn't have been. And I agree with Laura on that, where we think shouldn't have been in the bylaws, should have been in the agreement. Yeah, we'll get those in there in our
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But I don't want us to get involved in the bylaws part. And I don't think they want me involved anyway, but so that's a different deal. Okay, is that cool?
Objection.
Right.
I have a question on the previous matter, if I could.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I just want it to be perfectly clear. I understood this. Tom Mayo is receiving the report and having edits made to it by Bob before it's submitted to the board. He has this parts that he wanted more clarification on. This parts he said, nah, we shouldn't have that in there. I mean, it's his review, and then when he's happy with it, it gets submitted to the board and to us. I have a copy of it, but I'm not going to give it to you guys because they're still editing it.
So
Right. I am uncomfortable by the appearance of that. Right. If this something just doesn't seem right about it on its face, but if no one else objects, I'll just shut my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, it's being scrubbed.
Yeah, I mean, it's their review. I mean, it's their
But that doesn't make it right.
No,
yeah,
well, it's their review, but it's an independent, it's an independent report, right?
right. And
It's been commissioned.
right.
Supposedly independent. If it's subject to edit, that makes me. I'm uncomfortable. I don't know. If it's right or wrong.
No, I get that, Chris. If it isn't an impartial review, it should just be presented as is.
I'm not going to go down that road. Tom hired the guy. He got his review. I'm just glad that we're included in the negotiations to do the agreement with Harbor Media.
Well, I think at the very least, we should have the opportunity when we have Tom and we have hopefully the select people and we have a dialogue about what it is that we can ask questions about what was maintained in the original review and what was excised.
You could do that.
And I think that's perfectly within our purview. If we can't advise and have sort of an honest, open discussion about that, what's the point of the advisory committee?
No, no,
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, and we've gone down that road a few times too. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. We'll get it. We'll submit it.
It's town politics, so that's how they do it.
It's obvious. It's obvious. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just a non-paid, what do I got, so.
Oh, you're not getting paid for this, Dave? Oh, let me get you
Oh,
in
that's
touch with
it.
the person. Yeah, you gotta get on the payroll.
I was wondering when my checks bounced. No.
What ledger code was that? Speaking of which, we'd like to move to add an item to the agenda. And since our parliamentarian, I like the way that he works, I would propose that we add an agenda item before we close. The agenda item being a finance update from Mr. Leary. Anyone object to that?
I would second that.
All right, all those in favor of adding an agenda item?
I'm in favor. Aye.
Aye, aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Leary, you have the floor with a finance update.
Okay, thanks. So, it's a quick update, but I wanted to kind of give the committee just some thoughts surrounding what's been going on. I did review the final budget to actual that Michelle sent out. I mean, it seemed like it came in pretty darn close to what you had budgeted, Michelle. The one thing I did notice was, the creative services income line item. I'm not particularly sure, the 11,000 that came in, whether that's kind of in line with what was earned in the previous year. I'm assuming.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. We had several creative services jobs come in through the NSRWA. We did several series of videos for them because they received grants, so it was unexpected, which was nice. And on the tab on that document, you'll see for creative services, I did not include money when people come rent the studio. Those funds go only to Hingham Operating, not to the creative services bank account, because Hingham Cable Funds built the studio, so only Hingham Operating receives the benefit of studio rental. So when things were studio rental only, it didn't go into creative services, and that includes whoever rented the studio.
So Hingham Operating, are you talking about a town account or?
It's our Hingham Operating is the account that I use to pay bills with.
Oh, okay.
And the cable funds come in and go into a master account that only our treasurer has access to. And then she gives me enough money to pay bills. So studio rental, some people rent it for 3 or 4 hours, a couple of $100 that goes into Hingham Operating, not creative services. And I'm pointing that out because creative services might be used to augment the budgets for Hingham or Norwell, but studio rental specifically only benefits our Hingham programming.
So what do you line item that as a separate sort of part when you, in other words, if you rent the studio, say you rent your podcast studio, say you people want to use your laptops to edit or whatever. I mean, does that all just go into a general fund type thing, or do you designate it and
line item?
break it out?
Yeah, that's a line item.
Have with our I call it our budget to actual because we update it monthly, but there's a tab on there for creative services. And I've outlined exactly who gave us projects for creative services and how much it cost, and then who rented the studio. We had several people that they just rented the studio, and those fees are a different color and it goes into the Hingham operating account. Whereas everything else, NSRWA hires us for a series of watershed videos on water conservation. Those were projects that were creative services, a couple of $1,000 each for those projects. That's creative services. It's independent from renting the studio.
Now, when you rent your studio, do you rent the cameras and the lighting and
it depends.
And are there techs that are? I mean, I know that rented a studio at Channel 5 when I was there, and we would insist on having a in-house tech that would, because you couldn't just let, anybody off the street run your switcher.
Yeah, exactly. Usually people just want to use the studio. We have our studio listed on a few websites, including Peerspace. And usually people are shooting, they're doing photo shoots to promote an independent film or product shots, that kind of thing. Usually they bring their own people and their own cameras. It's very rare that they're renting our studio and need our cameras, but that is more comprehensive job. That's not just studio rental.
Okay.
So, and just to confirm what Michelle said, I mean, if you look at the budget to actual, there is actually a separate line item breaking that out. It's not a large amount. It's like probably about $1,500 in revenue, John.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, on the budget to actuals, right? Are you going to start creating month to month ones going forward? Like, we're into September now, right? So a couple months.
So I also sent you, there was a link to our current budget to actual, which has all the July and August numbers in there. So it shows you how we're running so far for those 2 months. So we do update it every month.
Yeah, for some reason I didn't see that, but
Was
It was
that
the
the
same
link that I
email,
sent?
2 different links.
It's not the link I sent, or no? I sent-
the link that you sent was the fiscal year ended 21 budget to actual.
Because that's supposed to be the live link that, well, we'll figure it out. Okay.
If I didn't include it, it literally was, the way I wrote the email was the second sentence with a link to here's how we're doing so far. If it wasn't in there, I'll send it right after this meeting.
Yeah, I mean,
Because we do update it every month.
so
And that's a live, those are live documents. So our 2021, 2022 fiscal year, it's updated every month.
yeah. So, and we can talk about it at the next meeting, but is there plans to kind of increase the amount of reserve that you're going to be bringing in fiscal year 22?
Yeah, so we budgeted at least 40 grand again for this year to spend down the reserve. And it's a separate tab, just like on the document that you have for the reserve fund, you can actually see what we spent and what we spent it on.
Yeah, so last year was probably about 38.
It was because one of our vendors that did some enhanced production for us did not get his invoice in before June 30th. The project was complete in May, and I didn't get an invoice from him until it was either end of July or beginning of August. So that's on this year's fiscal year budget. But that actually would have put us at 38,000 plus 32, so 41. That it would have put us over 40.
Oh.
Which was what we wanted to do. We wanted to spend 40 or slightly more. He just didn't get his invoice in until after the fiscal year.
Of that 40, how much of that was equipment and how much of that was things that were programmed?
Most of it was equipment. Do you?
Most of it was equipment?
Mm-hmm. We did a lot of enhancements. Yeah.
Not programming. Do you see that always being an equipment fund, slush fund, or do you see it as programming fund?
Yeah, because we have a capital fund. In fact, our capital budget this year, we have quite a bit of improvements planned. So I'd like to have even more program enhancement this year. The closed captioning $15,000 for this year was made possible by spending down that reserve fund too.
I guess my question is it ever going to go into a majority of it into programming as opposed to into equipment? And
that's the way. Yeah, that's the way it looks, John.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, and just a couple other things, Dave.
Yeah.
One other observation was that, Harbor Media had net income, or I think that's what it says, that you had net income of $11,000. So you had kind of a profit per se, right? And so, if we're trying to kind of spend down these reserves and such, you're actually adding money back. Do you know what I mean? Now, granted, it's a very imperfect process of trying to budget to actual. And
I
I'm
agree.
not saying that.
Yeah,
But-
and the
but-
other thing that happened was that was my first fiscal year, and there were a number of expenses that I either
Yeah.
reduced or eliminated.
Yeah.
And changing our payroll vendor made a huge difference on our balance sheet. We were paying a lot of money for more than we needed to. So we changed our vendor after the first quarter. I think I made a note of that. So that significantly, that was a difference of at least $8,000 on our balance sheet. So you kind of had this confluence. Our income was up. You noticed the income was up 1% more than we predicted that we built the actual budget on. So our income increased. And then I was chipping away at a lot of different expenses and some technology license agreements that I didn't think the team was using or benefiting from, and actually sharing some licenses. It's actually better for our bottom line if we share an Adobe account and have 5 licenses for Hingham and 5 for Norwell and pay once a year. You save almost $1,500 that way. So you kind of had those things happening together. I was cutting expenses where it made sense just to be smarter and leaner. And then our cable revenue increased by $1,000. And then we had a couple of creative services projects that were nice surprises.
Yeah, and I guess the point I'm trying to get across is that, and I'll tell you, I commend saving expenses and things along those lines. That's great, you know. But, you know, if our goal is to start moving down this reserve, right, you know, maybe what you're going to need to do is that if there's like a net profit in a particular year, you increase the amount of reserve that you're going to be pushing through in the next year.
It's on our agenda for an upcoming board meeting now that we have that full information, and then we can act on it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I mean, personally, I think that reserve fund, that I've made this point before, should be starting with programming development and having a slate of programming that you want to invest in. And I think we need to invest more in programming, less in equipment, less in all this other stuff. Put it on the screen. And encourage people to come up with ideas, perhaps through a grant process and things of that nature. You have lots of reserve to do that, and that's just my 2 cents. I think that you ought to be engaging in a lot more programming than you currently are. I mean, I know you're doing the best you can with what you have, but you could invest in more.
I think Dave shares with you because we give him our monthly numbers. We have really strong programming numbers. I'm not disagreeing with you. We can always always do more, but our programming numbers are very strong despite the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the programming you're doing, I'm saying with this reserve fund, it could be used to activate more programming, more series, more specials, whatever. And perhaps you would invest by hiring outside as well as just doing things internally.
Oh, we would have to. And that's one thing that went very successfully last fiscal year, was engaging with outside folks to produce at our direction. We did the Hingham's Hidden Gems series, which engaged 9 different businesses in our communities and shared their stories. And we'll be doing more of that for sure.
And you paid outside producers to do that, or would that?
I did.
They're volunteers, yeah.
Yep. We did. And they did a great job, but we would have to do that. I mean, John, you know our team. They're doing government meetings in the evenings and they're during the day. So right now, I would say we're in complete agreement. It has to be outside augmented production. I love the idea of community grants to encourage people to produce for us.
Good. Sounds good to me.
So Michelle, the audit, when is that being planned? Is that going to be?
It's in process. It's in process right now. I sent a lot of information over to our DePisa auditors today, in fact, and our bookkeeper is sending her reports, I believe, by the end of the week. Our filing date is November 15th.
So we're going to shoot for an earlier filing. All right, that's great.
Yes, it will be an earlier filing.
Yeah, and then one other update that is non-Harbor Media related. I did try to take a review of the town's trial balances, but they really weren't updated. Maybe it's just because of the summer lulls, or I asked for them too early or whatever. So that's an open item that I'll look at before the next meeting to kind of give you an idea of what's going on there.
Is that Mike, do you mean, is that the kitty that we have? That's the amount of money that's held back from our
Yeah,
giving to Harbor Media,
it's
and
both-
what are we doing with it? I mean, we've been giving it to the schools, and we keep kicking that can down the road, and we were going to have that discussion with Paul, and then all of a sudden he resigned. So we have to sort of decide, like, what are we going to do with that money, and how are we going to use that?
Yeah. So yes, right. I mean, first of all, I always, before the meetings, I always kind of look through the trial balances to make sure that they haven't booked things incorrectly between the operating and the capital accounts, and also sometimes just missing revenue payments and things along those lines.
Yep.
So that was initially what I was going to was talking about. And in addition, the fact that there has been some accounting issues with how they've booked it that I have a running list on, that I think I CC Dave and John on periodically, which seems to not be getting addressed, which I'm eventually going to need to just go into the town and sit down and ask why. But it was all kind of leading up to that letter that we had sent to the select people back, it's got to be close to 9 months ago, where we're kind of saying, hey, we do have some of these balances that have built up over a period of time. What are we going to do with it? And
well, there's a certain amount of that money. I mean, in the very beginning, when I was started on the committee, we had a certain amount of funds that Harbor Media, or HCAM at the time, would come to us and say, we need a new switcher because we need to be able to do this, that, and the other thing. And we would give them the money from that. So it was extra capital equipment. It didn't have to come out of that reserve fund like closed captioning is right now. It could have been something where Michelle could have come to us and said, we need $20,000 for closed captioning technology to be able to do that. Do you think that's a good idea? We'd debate it and we'd say yay or nay. At the same time, that funding was going, we eventually decided, well, we're really not as happy with the way the educational programming initiative is going on the school level. So we were asked by the school to help underwrite some of the classes with the idea that we were going to get programming out of that, which, as we all know, didn't transpire so easily. So, it seems to me that fund still is there. It's growing, like you're saying. Obviously, we've got to identify how much it really is. But one of our, action items in the next few months should be, what is that fund and what are we going to recommend its use for? And I think Michelle will have ideas and the schools will have ideas, and we should probably talk about how to spend it down.
Yeah. And, I think it would help, Dave, do we have a select person?
Yes, it's Liz.
It is Liz.
It's
Okay.
Liz. Right. And actually I met her at the end of my meeting with Tom and John, and I introduced myself and said, you're the lucky winner to have the good thing, because she's in charge of what we call utilities in the town. So for the time being, it's Liz. So yeah, she's our select person.
So
an example of what you're talking about, John, was this past year's upgrade of the select board room. That all of the equipment was upgraded, and we're seeking the same thing for the school committee room. We have all of our estimates in order, and Michelle Monsinger is looking for a date to put us on the agenda. But those are the kinds of serious upgrades that those funds that Michael's talking about have been used for.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit
an example that the entire select board room was updated, and now we are overseeing, in the town will hopefully use those funds to upgrade the school committee room, which that equipment is it definitely needed to be upgraded.
Yeah, so I agree with what you're kind of saying, but we're kind of talking about something a little bit different, right? Because there is that capital account, right, which we use to fund those types of things. But there's also an operating account at the town that has some residual balances dating back a number of years ago.
Long time, yeah.
And that's something that we got to kind of figure out what the select people and also, you know, maybe town council and town administrator as to exactly what we can use it on, since it's not designated as capital.
Hey, Mike, I mean, I can arrange a meeting if you think we're at that point where we can, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, so I'd really like to kind of get my hands on an updated trial balance.
Okay,
And then what I can do is I can maybe update the numbers so that, you know, we can kind of sit down and kind of talk about more current numbers.
okay, all right.
Is it a lot of money? Is it something that we could potentially use to pay Bill? I mean, that's like an operational expense, right?
I think the town pays the legal expenses through the town legal fund, right? Is that true, Mike? That Bill gets paid through the legal fund that the town has? They have a certain amount of money for legal?
Like which bill is that?
Bill Solomon?
Solomon's contract.
The bill you've yet to meet.
Yeah, you know, I've never seen, now granted, the trial balances don't have specific line items on like, you know, where I haven't seen an AP, like an accounts payable ledger where I can see where it's going to. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, if the question is, do you think it comes out of the, you know, cable money, then I don't believe it does. No, it's,
Yeah.
he submits a contract to the town, then he bills the town pays him.
Oh, I was speculating. Sorry, I was trying to craft a solution how we could move the money somewhere. If it's not capital, it has to be spent operationally. It's just a technocratic suggestion.
See, for me, you know, what I would like to know from the town a little bit, and I think that maybe this is a discussion with Liz and perhaps with Tom, in that, you know, when we were negotiating with those funds, you know, a bunch of years ago, and we got into the weeds with, are we going to fund the schools, or are we going to fund the switcher? Are we going to do this? We're going to do that. The Cable Advisory Committee was used as a sounding board to say, is this a good idea? How are you doing it? We get budget numbers. We go back and forth, and, you know, just give our opinion of, like, we think that's the best way to do it. Are there other options? And there were indeed like competing options at the time. And it just seems like the town, when they started saying, oh, we can get HD in all these rooms, and they're going to go on and on. I mean, they didn't really ask us our opinion about whether we thought that was a wise use of money. Now, maybe that's because they wanted to not use us for that. But I'm just sort of curious about what our purpose is if they're not going to be asking us things like that, because isn't that the whole point of the advisory committee? Because having, like, you know, it might not have been a wise thing to have like 12 rooms all wired with robotic cameras when they could schedule it in a different way. And we might have thought of, like, how could we do this? And it also could be, you know, how can you tax the resources of Harbor Media to have to, like, facilitate all of those rooms? You know, do they all have to be online at the same time? How much of that programming is going live? How much of it is being pulled up? I mean, these are the kinds of advice that I thought we were supposed to do.
And that, now that we know who our designated hitter is, I think it behooves me and the committee to, you know, to have a meeting with the town on, you know, on that relationship you just talked about. I think that's fair. You know, we get Liz down there, we get Tom down there, whoever, you know, I'll start with Tom because he's the town administrator. He says, you know, hey, you know, how do you want to do this going forward? Because Tom is definitely trying to figure out, you know, what the relationship the town has with local cable access. You know, how do they want to run this thing, you know, when we do the agreement? So it all kind of fits together. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm perfectly, if you want us, you know, the town can do whatever it wants, obviously, but what is the relationship? We should facilitate that. I'll take that on. That's a good point. I like that. Now
what's our role? I mean, I think you've brought this up before.
Absolutely.
Some people we've all asked that. You know, we need clarification of
absolutely,
what is the role of the select person overseeing cable, and what experience, what knowledge, why isn't Liz on the call with us right now? If she's sort of getting introduced to our committee, like if they're going to pay attention to it and treat it with respect, then that's what they should be doing.
We're getting no respect.
Well, I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean,
No, it does.
how can Liz know about the operations of what we're doing if she's not involved with the
Yeah.
discussions that we have? And I'm not saying every single time, but I'm saying to a certain degree, getting an orientation.
Yeah, I'll facilitate that. And also the additional wrinkle is Fisher does know a little bit about this, and Tom certainly knows a little bit about this. So they're not totally clueless on local access, but yeah, I will facilitate getting the lines of communications opened up now that we know who, our select person is.
Great.
Michelle, you want to talk about education? Because that's in programming update.
Yes, I can do both. So for education, we had two really key meetings in the past 2 weeks. We met with interim superintendent, Dr. Myastis, who is very enthusiastic about communication in general from the district, and specifically working with Harbor Media to communicate messaging and then to be more proactive in getting messaging out from the schools. And the way that he explained that to us is when he was superintendent for Plymouth Public Schools, he worked very closely with local public access. And in fact, he still maintains a board position with PAC TV in that community. And he met with us, shared some of his ideas, went through some programming that we've already produced with the schools, both superintendent's messages over the past few years, school committee meetings, the pieces we've produced with the schools, every school, elementary, middle, and high school, and had some of his own ideas. One thing that he completely agreed with us on is that he would like to pave the way for our education producer, Aaron, who as of January will be with us 7 years in that role. And he has a regular meeting with the heads of each school, and he has invited Aaron to be a guest in that upcoming meeting to share. He has relationships in these buildings, but he felt that having Aaron at that meeting would show his commitment to partnering with Harbor Media, and then he'd like each school to commit to co-producing, if you will, throughout the year with Harbor Media. And he felt that that message would be delivered well by having Aaron in that meeting. So we felt very positive about that. He just understands. Something else he shared with us at the time was a recent decision and approval from the school committee, because I think it was just approved 2 weeks ago, was a communications position for the district. They don't have a communications person.
Oh.
And we've talked in these meetings before where I've said, we're proactive, we communicate all the time, but we don't lead communication strategies from Hingham Public Schools. That's something that they set. Yeah. And he feels very strongly about having a communications professional that would be our liaison and would communicate with the schools and would be that one person that says, here's what's going on at PRS, here's what's going on at the middle school, here are these messages we want to share, and here's content we want to produce. So that had just been approved, and he said it would take 2 or 3 weeks to find the right person and then bring them on board, and that we would be part of the onboarding process. Harbor Media would be part of the onboarding process with that communications professional.
So it sounds like we should take that person as our guy.
So when you said, hey, since Dr. Austin's no longer here and in the district or on the CAC, that was the idea, is that would be a natural person to serve on the CAC.
Right. Now this guy is just an interim guy. They're going to hire somebody, right? So
yeah, they're doing a search.
Right.
Yes, they're doing a search.
Is there a timeline for that? I'm just curious.
He said they were already interviewing candidates, I believe. So I thought he said within 2 to 3 weeks they should have a hire.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, but I think
Dave is
usually
the superintendent, not the communication role.
No, I'm talking about the superintendent. He's an acting superintendent, right?
No, he is the interim superintendent.
Right.
He was saying for the communications person, he was hoping to have that resolved.
Oh, yeah. No, that's good. I'm just wondering when we're gonna get a superintendent of schools for Hingham.
Usually they take a year. That usually happens at the beginning of a school year. So that person will probably come on in the summer next year.
Yeah, he told us that his commitment was for 1 year. So
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. No, that's good news that the communications guy is that quick. That's good. That's
yeah, he was very committed to that.
Yeah.
So
Was he aware of the money that we give to help
Yes.
underwrite? And what did he say about that? Did he have any comment about that? Like,
did.
are we going to maintain that with the people that are there?
yeah, he didn't have a comment. He just said he was aware of it.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, but we definitely want to get our oar in on the communications director to get onto the advisory committee.
Yeah, communications is key, regardless of your organization. I'll always feel that way.
Yeah.
The other really important meeting that we had with the schools this week, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, was with the new Hingham Middle School TV production instructor. She's also media library specialist, Tracy Blake. She's extremely enthusiastic about teaching this class. She has the students all year. She's very happy about that. It's not a half-year class. So we met with her. She has some great ideas. She had already been on our website in our Learn section and had gone through the Harbor Media how-tos and either had started using them or said she was planning to use them with the students as it maps to her curriculum. We shared some resources with her. We shared with her the same document we created for Hingham High School's video production last year. It said, hey, produce a video and see it on Harbor Media. Here's some story ideas. Here are some resources for copyright-free, royalty-free images, video, and music, because she agreed that she'll be having the students produce content with royalty-free ingredients so that they can air on television. So great meeting. Also, our Adam, Director of Operations, went and visited her because parts of her studio were disconnected, I think just from summer cleaning up. Some things were unplugged. So our Adam was able to get the studio up and running and connected. It's a great space for those students. So we have a strong relationship with her. And I see that, going forward in a lot of ways that are very likely going to result in content because she's teaching the class in that direction.
So what is her name, Michelle?
I'm sorry?
What is her name?
Tracy Blake.
Tracy Blake.
Tracy Blake. Thank you.
Yes.
So Michelle, has Erin given you an opinion of like what's going to come out of the film classes in the high school in terms of content for you this year? Or is anything, is any of that money that we're spending on those two teachers going to get us any results?
Yeah, I want to be really careful about that because how they're funded and then what they give us it's just not our domain, as Dr. Austin said before he left. It's just not Harbor Media's responsibility. We are proactive and work with the schools whenever they have a request, regardless of how they're funded. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, you have a mandate to produce an educational channel. It makes sense to do that.
But you're talking about funding that you give the schools, and you're asking me how they use it and if it's showing up on TV. And I'm not in charge of that money that you give them, and it doesn't.
No, I totally understand that. I'm just asking you if you said to me, we're getting a lot of bang for our buck, and there's a lot of output going in. When we now go back and review whether we want to take that money and put it into that same investment, or take it away and give it to Harbor Media or whoever, that's the discussion that we probably will have eventually. Because that can keeps getting kicked down the road, Dave,
Yeah.
I think you should talk to Hingham Public Schools because, just to continue the last meeting that Dr. Austin attended with the CAC, I believe what he said was that that's the funding that you give the schools, but it doesn't result in a quid pro quo for content on television. And so there's a new administration. I would talk to Dr. Myastis. I would use it as a great, new relationship and just say, how do you see this playing out? This is what we fund. At this point, we haven't gotten any content from TV production classes. They just started. We have a relationship with the school. We have a relationship with the teachers. Rick Swanson's always good to us. Getting back to us right away when we pitch ideas, and then reaching out when he'd like us to work on something.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think our funding of there is separate, and I think we were trying to use it as to be a catalyst to be able to get some, programming sort of initiated by students at the high school, and that has been, less than stellar. So I think we just need to revisit the expenditure and analyze it. And I think going to the, we've been playing musical chairs with the superintendents. First Dot, then Paul, now we've got somebody new. I think we just probably need to put it on our agenda in the next, once I think Michael figures out like what the funding really is and where it's going and how it's going, I think we then have to make a recommendation to Liz, who could bring it up to the select board, I guess.
Yeah, and I can't share with you content that we are getting from the high school at this early stage of the new school year. Is we're getting some sports content. You guys all remember when Ray Estes came from Hingham Sports Partnership. They bought some equipment. Our Adam, Director of Operations, granted some training classes. And at the end of basically last spring semester, when they were streaming to their YouTube, then we bought a piece of equipment that allows us to air that live on our channels. So right now, I believe we've gotten 2 games. One was an away game that a different high school recorded a football game, and then we reached out and they sent it to us. And then I believe the athletic department has partnered with a company called Be Big to film some games. We've worked with Be Big before because last year they have a pay-per-view service. For last year, we got hockey games from them the day after. So they would live stream, and it's a pay-per-view for parents, friends, family to watch a live hockey game. And then they give us the file the next day. We do a light edit, take out any ads, and then put it on television. So they did reach out to us and let us know that Hingham High School has asked them to stream a few football games, and that they would give us the file the next day.
That's good. That's content.
I'm not sure between HSP and the athletic department. I think maybe they're changing the way that they do it. So we haven't gotten anything directly from them, but in other words, we're getting games elsewhere.
Mike, I'll take the action item to touch base with the acting superintendent, and, let's get that going.
Yeah.
Very eager to work with communication. So I think he would welcome that.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Good.
That's the education update. If there are any questions, and then I have some programming highlights for you.
Give us the programming highlights.
Okay. Sure. So the middle of August, just about a month ago, we had 7 students from the community attend a camp at Harbor Media Studio, and they created short films, and then they created a one larger film together. And so we're airing that Filmmakers Collaborative Academy. Those students did a really good job, and it was a week-long camp, and it was taught by a group out of Boston called Filmmakers Collaborative. And each of those students created something that is now entered into the International Boston Film Festival. And so we're also airing their videos on our channels. Also, some other programming notes. South Shore Conservatory reached out to us in August, and we brainstormed. They had a great idea, and then we kind of built on that, brainstormed a 20th anniversary for the 9/11 memorial, which involved music from South Shore Conservatory, pianist and singing. And then 2 of us from Harbor Media picked a memorial poem. And then we had a really touching tribute from Hingham's VSO, Officer Keith German, on his recollection and his memory from 9/11. And it surprised us. We thought we knew who he was. And he had an experience that we hadn't encountered before. It was very emotional. And we're airing that through the month of September. We premiered it on 9/11 at 11 a.m. And then we're running it all month long. That, in addition to the town's own memorial, we also filmed that and are airing that the rest of the month. We also just completed a Weir River Artist Series. We did this last year and it was very well received. We even won a Mass Access Award last year for one of the pieces. So this year, Weir River wanted to focus on 2 photographers that are constantly on their property and taking images. So we did those 2 artist highlights. This is Estuary Week, National Estuary Week. So we did it in a, but we will air those episodes further through October at least. We'll air them at least another 5 or 6 weeks. And then NSRWA came to us. They'd like to do a river restoration series and start with Weir River. And it's very interesting content, the whole idea of restoring your river and sharing with the community what's working now, and then what the goal is and how the community can play a role in your local river restoration. So they just reached out to us last week. We had a pre-production call, and we'll be working on that.
Yeah, that the river thing actually is very popular in communities, taking out dams and making rivers, free flowing. There's a whole effort that's got a lot of traction lately.
It is interesting. And they also said that the fish ladders, I didn't know this, there's a fish ladder in Pembroke. It actually only benefits one species of fish. So then you're becoming speciesist.
Well, you can go down to Weymouth and there's the running of the herring. Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah, absolutely.
But those are some programming notes. And then I would just remind you that at harbormedia.org, if you click on the schedule tab at the top, it's a live TV schedule of what is airing and the added benefit of watching video on demand.
Cool. We're making progress. We're making progress. Anything else?
Please RSVP to our October 12th annual meeting.
Yes.
We've all received email invites.
I accepted.
I did see your RSVP.
Yeah.
It will be live on Zoom, but also live on our public channels.
Yep.
Will there be caviar?
Virtually.
Virtual.
Yeah. All right. Schedule next meeting. Actually, I already did that. Unless someone objects, it's going to be the 27th of October, 7 o'clock. It will be a Zoom meeting. Mr. Solomon will be waxing poetic, and I will have the materials hopefully before then. There will be an agenda, and review the agenda. If you want to be on the agenda, let's make sure we get it on the agenda.
So will Bill provide us with an agenda of what he's going to talk about, so we can go boom, 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 boom?
That's my hope.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
circle and circle and circle.
We're recording this, John. Take it easy. Yes. Okay.
So Dave, there is
People are asleep by now, Dave. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
there is a potential I might not be able to make that date, but
We won't have a finance update? I
don't know. I thought we had some good discussions around the community. Yeah, just a heads up.
I just wanted to nail him down because now I got a whole few weeks where I can try to get some prep material ahead of time.
Yeah, well, I'll try to make it.
What do we know the date that the Verizon renewals due?
I can look it up for you. It's
Generally,
yeah. I mean, it was 5 years. We were 3 years in, so it's probably 2 years out. It has to be, which is kind of ridiculous because
2023.
Right. It's ridiculous because all you're doing is doing license renewals. Yeah, we know that.
Well, then they have a trigger to get out at any time, really.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that'll be illuminating, to put it mildly.
And he hasn't given you any sense of what their position is at all in terms of whether they're getting out of the cable business or staying in it or what?
No, this is the usual stuff that we talked last time. Nothing substantive. I just wanted to get it all into the kickoff being on the 27th, and then we can go from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. I appreciate everyone hanging in there. It's almost a couple of hours, and I will ship the recording to Michelle. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Did the parliamentarian again? All those in favor?
Aye.